The red flags for CD Projekt Red's upcoming Witcher 4 game keep piling up. The latest is that their franchise and lore designer is a former games journalist who has said he wants to punch gamers, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. This guy is the woke of the woke. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to head on over, hit the subscribe button, become a paid subscriber, help support us in shining a light on this woke infection that is trying to destroy the video game industry, burn it to the ground, as Sweet Baby Inc. has said, and destroy our society and culture. So shout out to YouTuber, the reviewer Wild Take, who did a phenomenal job kind of investigating Cian Maher, who is a former writer at The Gamer, and he is now currently CD Projekt Red's franchise and lore designer. Did an excellent video here that I included in this article. Definitely go and check out his stuff because he compiles so many more posts than what I'm going to go over here in this video. We don't even get into what this guy has written at The Gamer. We're just looking at his posts on X is what I'm going to go into, but he goes into Blue Sky and stuff like that, so definitely check out his video as well. But he provided me this video, shared this tip with me, so shout out to him. Definitely go over there and check his video out. But in his video, he first noted that Maher's video game career did not begin in development work, but he was an associate editor and eventually lead features editor at thegamer.com. from September 20 to December 2021. We can see his LinkedIn profile right here. You can see he worked at The Gamer for about a year and a half. He then moved over to GLHF Entertainment AB for about, 4 months, it looks like. If you're not familiar with that company, I wasn't either, but they describe itself on LinkedIn as a company that provides best-in-class written and video content to some of the world's biggest publishers. So they're basically like a content farm. I guess companies like Inverse, because he did write some stuff over at Inverse, contract with this company, and he writes for them, etc., and stuff like that. So my guess is they are basically a conglomerate of woke video game writers, entertainment writers that publish for a lot of these woke outlets. He then moved on to become a games consultant in August 2022, basically a Sweet Baby Inc. style consultant, and eventually was able to leverage that and became a franchise and lore designer over at CD Projekt Red beginning in April 2023, and has been there for almost 2 years now. So that is this guy's kind of history in the video game industry. And then the reviewer Wild Take went into basically all of the absolutely bonkers things this guy has posted just over the last 4-5 years or so, and clearly was doing some advanced keyword searching over on X. You can see that Gamers is bolded, so he's clearly using that. He used a couple of others as well, but I did my own research too. So there's a couple of things that might not be in his video that are in my video, etc. And he obviously has a lot more too in his video. But here's one from July 2022. I am once again asking for you to stop being toxic little weirdos, and clearly directing this at gamers, right? So there you go. Clear disdain for people who play video games. This guy supposedly being a person who covers the video game industry and is now making video games at CD Projekt Red. Huge red flag right there. In June 2021, he wrote this: law school being easier than dealing with gamers, says everything anyone needs to know about this gig. LMAO. More disdain for gamers there. In December 2020, he complained that being a games journalist was difficult. He says, the thing I find funny about gamers complaining about how good games journalists have it is, like, if you think this job is so incredibly well paid, it's not, and easy, it's not. Why don't you just do it yourself? This is utterly ridiculous. Sitting here, finding people's posts, playing video games for a living, being able to review them is not that difficult, especially when you compare it to something like manual labor. If you're working on a construction site or something like that, you're out in the sun all day doing grueling, hard labor. Very different. There is no comparison, right? I would also wager that coding, programming, a lot more difficult as well. It's not very difficult. Let's be real here. In November 2020, he posted this: "The gamers are already bad enough." Right here, unclear who he's responding to or what he's talking about this, but he did say, "I say this a lot, but games receiving mixed reviews is a good thing. I don't think we need to snipe at each other because some people thought a game was better or worse than we did. That's not clever. It's petty, and it never A, comes across well, or B, is helpful in any way." And then someone responded and said this post, obviously the post was deleted. And then he says, "Exactly, the gamers are already bad enough." So basically, he's just trying to, I guess, stop some infighting, I guess, that was happening for a game that came out in November 2020 that people were giving mixed reviews on. Wasn't happy that the SJWs, the woke cultists, were infighting over whatever game they were reviewing in 2020. They weren't on the same page. So that's kind of funny. And then he said he wanted to punch gamers in January 2020. We've got this guy here, Ty Gallas Rowe, wrote, "In 2020, I want muscles so I can effectively punch gamers and also so I can carry cute people and dogs of any size easily." Cian Maher responded, "I didn't realize until this tweet, but this is now also what I want." And then Christina says, "You want to punch gamers or you want CG to punch you?" And Cian Maher says, "Me and Caitlin will punch gamers together." So clearly indicating he wants to punch gamers right there. How much disdain and actual hate that he has, that he's literally talking about committing violence against gamers, the people that he's literally trying to get to read his articles and watch his coverage of the video game industry. I mean, literally cannot make this stuff up. These people literally hate you, and they make it very clear over and over and over again. In August 2020, we see more of his kind of ego and arrogance. He responded to Inverse writer Mark Hill saying, "Don't worry, we are the true gamers." So again, kind of trying to create a distinction between him being this elite status as a games journalist and the people that he wants to punch, that play the games, that literally allow the industry to be as successful as it is because they're buying the games, reading his articles, watching his videos, etc. And then this here, I probably could have wrote a whole different article on this because this is the guy, remember, he is supposed to be, franchise and lore designer. I think is his official title. Yeah, he's supposed to be the franchise and lore designer over at CD Projekt Red. They actually have this guy basically acting as a spokesman for The Witcher 4. He's the one going around doing all the interviews with IGN. He's prominently featured in their YouTube videos, etc. He's the one promoting this game. And he's supposed to be their franchise and lore designer. And he literally talks about how being accurate to the lore is weird and is not good. And if you actually want to be accurate to the lore, you're just a bigot. Because this is what he wrote June 23, 2022, regarding the Rings of Power. And he says, "Tolkien fans obsessed with accuracy are so effing weird. Nobody cares about this adaptation. Why do you care about any adaptation then? The only reason you're upset about Rings of Power is because critiquing it allows you to pretend your vitriol and bigotry have value." So if you're actually trying to be accurate to the lore for the Lord of the Rings of Power, and you're critiquing it from that standpoint, you're just a bigot, is what this guy is saying. I mean, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. Like I said, this guy is the woke of the woke. I think the reviewer said that he is just like your standard typical NPC. He literally is the stereotype. And you see this over and over and over again. He then said, "What's also funny is that most of the loudest Tolkien fans online constantly telling themselves, 'You've read the books, yeah, cool, so you know Sam has dark skin. How accurate was it to cast Sean Astin then? What's that? Speak up, please. I can't hear you. Where are you going?'" So literally, he's telling on himself. He doesn't even know the lore. He doesn't realize that when Tolkien, I think, wrote like browner skin, that is literally a reference to basically Mediterranean people who are from like the Mediterranean, like Italians and like Sicilians and like people from like Greece. They're still white. There were no black or Indian or Hispanic, or I guess I shouldn't say Hispanic, like South American Hispanic, I guess. Not white Hispanic, obviously. Even the government has that distinction, but they're not black and they're not like brown, right? Literally white people. And so he's literally telling on himself right here while he's saying that while he's trying to critique. But what do these people do, right? They lie, they double down, and they project. And we see this right here in literally 2 posts. They always give themselves away. He's done the same thing with Netflix's The Witcher show. He wrote, "Annoys me when people say Netflix's Witcher writers don't respect the lore. They have made sweeping changes. Yes, some of them have been questionable. Others have been outright bad, but it is crystal clear that they love and respect Sapkowski's books. That is a lazy criticism." So even he admits that a lot of the changes that they've made were bad, some of them questionable, but then says, like, they clearly respect the lore. Okay. Like, he says if you criticize that, it's lazy. But you can't make this stuff up. And this, again, this is the franchise and lore designer working at CD Projekt Red right now. These are the things he posted just 2 years ago. December 2022, June 2022. He's also a proponent of transgender ideology. Again, he is the living, walking stereotype of a woke cultist. I mean, this guy is a woke cultist. He is an NPC, whatever you want to call him. He is literally all about the current thing. He posted this February 2023. The thing that will never cease to amaze me about people who tirelessly defend Harry Potter is that they'll say, but you used to like it, you just don't like it anymore because you disagree with J.K. Rowling's brazen transphobia. And it's like, yes, why would I need any other reason? So he literally hates Harry Potter now because J.K. Rowling actually stood up against the evil transgender ideology that thinks that men can become women and women can become men. They cannot. It is evil. It is probably one of the worst evils facing our society and culture today. This absolute destruction of what it means to be human, what it means to be man, what it means to be woman. They are trying to literally erase that, and they're trying to do everything that they possibly can to get people like Cian Maher to buy into it and to propagate that evil ideology. And this guy is literally saying he now hates Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling actually stood up for what is true and right when it comes to this issue, or at least partially stood up for it, because I don't know if she's changed her views on this, but when she originally started speaking up against this stuff, she said she was still fine with people literally mutilating themselves. She just didn't like them, the political power that they were gaining and how they were influencing children, how they were invading female spaces, etc. He then added this: "I kind of get the nostalgia and cultural attachment. I was at midnight launches for the book as a kid and watched the films more times than I can count. But it's very weird to say this thing I liked as a child and everything adjacent to it, no matter how moral, is infallible." And again, this is a person who is now admitting that he does not understand the distinction between right and wrong anymore. He has totally been psyoped into thinking that destruction, self-mutilation, all the things that transgender ideology leads one down is somehow good and true, when it is the exact opposite. It is evil, false, and is a lie. So if he's believing stuff like this, just imagine what kind of absolute degeneracy he is going to be injecting into this Witcher game. Because again, remember, this guy is the franchise and lore designer. So he is literally could be putting this kind of absolute evil degeneracy into the game, and will try to show it as somehow that it is good and true when it is not. And that is how they try to propagandize this stuff. Spoke about this on a number of occasions. Always usually cite Brian Niemeyer. His really good analysis on this is that they literally try to get you to buy into a protagonist who shows their immoral values as what is good and true. And we need to be doing the opposite. We need to actually have protagonists, heroes, doing what is true and right. And I can already hear people in the comments like screaming with relativist arguments, which are just been make absolutely no sense and have been refuted for centuries now, right? In September 2023, he defended pronouns, saying if you're an adult who loses their mind at the concept of pronouns, which everyone everywhere throughout all of history has used every single day, there is something wrong with your life, but it's not what you think it is. The wokes aren't out to get you. You're just a clown. So you can see this guy is not very intelligent, or if he is extraordinarily devious and deceptive, and he is totally trying to lead people down a false path, because he knows that when people are criticizing pronouns, it has nothing to do with the fact that we're using he, she, whatever pronouns you want to use on a daily basis to describe people. We're literally talking about seeing them being used to promote transgender ideology, which is how they're being used in the video game space, in entertainment at large, in a lot of these corporations, etc. That is literally why they are doing it, is to normalize transgender ideology. That is what people are upset about. This guy, I think, knows that, and he's totally being dishonest and deceptive, and kind of shows just how evil he is being. Anyways, he goes on and says, honestly, I feel sad when I see people who have clearly lost the ability to think because they have been swallowed whole by some inane grift. Again, they lie, they double down, and they project, right? He is literally talking about himself right here. He is the one who has been swallowed by the grift of the transgender ideology, and now he is trying to propagate it. It is absurd that people can be so far gone that they will publicly go berserk at the sight of the word they or even just pronoun. This isn't really a new or even worthwhile observation, but people online are way too obsessed with other people's lives and choices. Who gives a crap what anyone else is doing once they're content in not harming anyone? Let people be happy and mind your own business. This is the typical libertarian argument that you see all of the time. And if you're, I don't know how you can even make this argument anymore, given the fact that we have seen that the slippery slope is indeed real and that all of this degeneracy has come from degeneracy in the past. Like, we don't get transgender ideology without first having so-called gay marriage. Like, this stuff all kind of comes from a starting point, and it all kind of trickles down. If you look at kind of a lot of the studies on how pornography works, I think you can point to pornography as some of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of this transgender ideology, because it literally is so addictive that people want to get more and more extreme and bizarre in the things that they are watching with that. And there's significant amounts of research done on that, and I think that is reflective of how we see this so-called progressive agenda that is always progressing further and further towards hell. So this whole libertarian argument here is common, but it is just utterly absurd and ridiculous if you've been alive for 10 years, or at least been an adult for 10 years and have been able to witness what we have seen happen, especially in the West, and how our societies have completely degenerated. He also defends DEI policies. And I think this is interesting too, right? This guy is a typical woke cultist, and he's literally spouting this stuff. So that makes you think, right? You are literally, if you're spouting this too, you're agreeing with the woke of the woke. In May 2022, he defended DEI policies. So this makes me question whether or not CD Projekt Red is indeed engaging in illegal hiring practices with this guy. I think we've seen evidence that they do indeed engage in illegal hiring practices. At least they would be considered illegal here in the United States. Not sure in Ireland, where this guy is from, or Poland, etc. But we do know that they have that all-female internship. You cannot apply to that unless you are a female, which is clearly discriminatory based on sex. But he goes on and says, unfriendly reminder that anyone who responds to calls for diversity with "how is this fair?" hiring should be based on skill, usually has no skill whatsoever. If you claim you can't get a job because you're straight and white, I'm sorry, you can't get a job because you're crap. This is utterly ridiculous. We know this because there are literal policies that all of these major companies have where they are discriminating against white males. Like, that's literally happening. So this guy is just trying to deny reality now. People would rather be bigoted and blame the fact they're straight white men on their inability to get a job, the fact they're not quite as good a writer as they'd like to think, which ironically is a byproduct of unfounded straight white man confidence. So, clearly he has issues with straight white men as well. And then obviously, if you point out the fact that all of these companies literally have policies that discriminate against white men, you're just a bigot. You can't even make this stuff up. You cannot make it up. We see this time and time and time again. These people are at war with reality. They don't even want you to see what is actually happening, and they will lie and lie and lie some more. And all these lies lead to even bigger lies. Again, he's lying about this, and then what did we also see that he was lying about? Transgender ideology. So all of this it's all connected, right? He then goes on and says, I'm a straight white man. I have never been unfairly considered for a job, but I've definitely benefited from my privilege, particularly when it comes to confidence. The people who lambast diversity efforts are just looking for ways to excuse their lack of talent. Simple as. That's absolutely not true. Again, he's likely projecting. He says, I will also stress that diversity is absolutely essential to hiring an editorial today. So if you're complaining about it, it's not happening. But it actually is happening. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. These people literally gaslight you within multiple sentences of each other. Like, this is just absolutely insane. Like, it's not happening. You just lack talent. But you know what? It actually is happening. And in fact, not only is it happening, it's absolutely essential to hiring an editorial today. How can you claim to accurately or meaningfully cover anything if your team is just a bunch of dudes who all look the same having beers in the office? Let's be real here. Well, it's not really hard. It's called you actually are dedicated to seeking out the truth, no matter what your sex is or no matter what your race is. By the same token, hiring diversely means you can't just hire one person and call it a day. Outlets categorically need people from all different backgrounds and cultures if they want any chance of offering worthwhile commentary on the zeitgeist. This is very easy to understand. We've seen this argument over and over again. It's bunk. It's absolutely bunk. You do not need this. You just need people who are actually dedicated to the truth. And lots of these people aren't. We know this guy clearly is not. This won't change until more people speak up about it. There are still so many writers who claim they can't get work because they're straight white guys, when in reality, they can't get work because they can't write. As long as they believe the former, though, toxicity will fester. Last point, he's just reiterating his other points here. Last point, this happens in games because lads who grew up playing Mario reckon they deserve a job. They're not worried about writing or critical thought or journalistic knowledge. Again, notice how he's not actually talking about being dedicated to the truth here, right? Like, that's not part of it. That's being actually dedicated to the truth and seeking the truth is literally not what he's about. And he won't, because he can't say that because he'd be lying again. They're worried about their dream gig going to more talented, hardworking people. That's all. Anyway, F this bollocks. If someone ever tells you I didn't get the job because I'm straight and white and they were hiring to meet a quota, stop what you're doing, look them in the eye, and in the most impolite way possible, say, no, you didn't you didn't get it because you're crap. This is absolutely hilarious, especially after the stuff that's going on with Avalon and how we even seen Chris Avalon, the former co-founder or co-owner of Obsidian Entertainment, literally recommending people sue his former company over the comments that Matt Hansen made, where he was clearly discriminating against white people and even saying that white people need to be removed from the industry, or he can't wait for them to be removed, remove people like me so I can go back out into the woods or something of such manner. But again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I haven't even gotten into any of his articles or things like that he wrote at The Gamer. There's also a ton of more stuff that he's posted on X or Twitter that the reviewer Wild Take here has in his video. But this is a massive, massive red flag. And these people will indeed inject this stuff into their games. There's actually an interview with the Dragon Age, the Veilguard game director, who literally admits that it's a man pretending to be a woman, admits that he literally injected that into the game, and there's no way he could not possibly inject that into the game. So, and this is what we've seen over the past decade plus, whether it be in comics, whether it be in novels, whether it be in tabletop gaming, whether it be in video games, you hire these woke activists, and what do? They inject woke stories into the game. It's into the gameplay, it's into the story, it's in the game design, etc. And this is what I expect to happen with The Witcher 4. We've seen so many red flags now with this game. This is just the latest. And again, this is the guy they have going out doing the press with IGN, etc. He's the one promoting their game. He's basically the face of the game right now. And I think that is just, it tells on itself, right? So I think this game is going to do significantly worse than The Witcher 3. I think you will probably still see a lot of people buy into it who maybe are going to try and give it a hope because of the brand recognition and things like that. But I doubt that their planned trilogy will go off very well because people will get this game. They will see that it is absolutely Dragon Age the Veilguard 2.0 and will not be purchasing any subsequent games in their new Witcher saga because this is what they're doing with it. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.